Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to Cinematic Reviews. As always, I am your host, Chris, and this is the show about all things movies and TV. Got another awesome episode for y'all today. We continue our journey through the spooky season of October with Fright Nights, and we are going to review Sinister, the most scariest movie voted in the month of October. It's a movie that I watch every year in anticipation for Halloween, and I absolutely love it. It's brought to you by Blumhouse, who has been killing it in the horror genre of the film industry. It stars my boy Ethan Hawke, who is just phenomenal in this movie. I absolutely love his Ellison Oswalt character and his dedication to giving you one of the scariest experiences put on film. I just can't wait for the review today. Before we get started with that, we have one more episode of Fright Nights coming out next week, and that'll be the Scream episode. And I'm super excited for that one also. That's a movie that I watch not just every Halloween, but throughout the entire year. I just did the entire franchise, I think, about 3 months ago, and I just absolutely love it even more. I can't wait to talk about Scream on the show next week. And then with that, Fright Nights is over for 2025. I've had a lot of fun doing Fright Nights, so I think we're going to continue it into next year with another round of scary, spooky movies in the month of October. More to come next year. But that leads us into our next event for Friday, and that is Marvel Fridays. We're going to kick it off in November with Iron Man, which started the MCU from the very beginning back in 2008. We're going to go all the way through the MCU movies and TV shows. If you start on the first Friday of November, and you watch every single project on each Friday leading up to Doomsday. It'll get you all through that cinematic adventure with the Avengers, and I can't wait to finally do that big event on the show starting in November for Marvel Fridays. A couple other reminders: you can watch the show every week at youtube.com/the cinematic reviews. You can also listen to the audio version on your favorite podcast network: Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, all of those. You can find the show on there. You can also follow the show on all the social media pages: X, Instagram, and Facebook. Post a lot of artwork and some other announcements on there, as well as the popcorn scale and the newly created Best in Show. So check out all of that on the social media pages. With that, let's get into one reaction that we have today in news and reactions. So the one reaction I have for you all today is a little bit different than I normally do. I don't normally do documentaries, but this documentary that Netflix just released is really, really amazing. I love how that they filmed it, how they present the real events that happened. This was actually recommended to me by a couple of friends of mine. So shout out to them for leading me onto this new Netflix documentary. I absolutely love documentaries. There's something that the streaming services have been really pumping out the last couple of years, and I watch every single one that I can when I get time. And this one really blew me away. I remember this incident in Florida when it happened, and they did a fantastic job with this documentary that Netflix put out, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. And if you haven't figured it out, it is The Perfect Neighbor, the newest documentary to come from Netflix. It is a documentary like none other. It's shot strictly through body cams and security footage from the police department in that area that was dealing with that incident. It covers the unfortunate killing in a Florida neighborhood. Susan Lawrence, if that name rings a bell at you at all, this event was an unfortunate event. It was started out as bickering neighbors and unfortunately ended in bloodbath and an unfortunate death. It's truly groundbreaking. I definitely recommend this documentary if you're not familiar with the story, or if you are. It's a really cool way to make you aware of this incident that shattered an entire neighborhood. Let me get into some of the more gritty details of it. The Perfect Neighbor, like I said, has been classified as Susan Lawrence, who is now sitting in prison for 25 years on a, what was it? I think it was a manslaughter charge. Here is a brief summary here. Let's see if I can find it. A minor disagreement between neighbors in Florida takes a lethal turn with police body cam footage and interviews probing the aftermath of the state's controversial stand your ground laws. If you're not familiar with that, there's a stand your ground law instituted in Florida where you basically have the right to shoot somebody that is causing you fear, whether you're in your home, on your property. And that was the incident that Miss Susan Lawrence was trying to convey in her defense of shooting. I need to look up the name here. Ajik Owens, I believe is how you say it. She is a mother of 4, just protecting her children. The Perfect Neighbor, not to spoil too much of the documentary, covers a lot of the harassment that she kind of ensued on the children of that neighborhood. And she tried to use the stand your ground law that is instituted in the state of Florida as a defense. It unfortunately did not grant her a non-guilty plea. She was found guilty of the charge in the shooting of Miss Owens. And it's unfortunate that her family had to go through this over something so little as bickering neighbors that led in bloodbath and unfortunate death. But it is a really well done documentary that I think pays really good respect to the family of Miss Owens and gives you the whole story from not only just the police's view with the body cameras, but also with all the interviews and the other members of the community that played a factor in telling the story and how this impacted their lives. So it's a really, really well done. One of my favorite documentaries so far that Netflix has pumped out there. And I'm giving this 5 popcorn buckets on the popcorn bucket scale. It's one of my favorite documentaries right now. I absolutely love how they captured this horrific moment in the history of Florida. And it's just really unfortunate that this had to end in a tragic death when it was simply just bickering neighbors, not getting along, and there's children involved. So I totally understand the motives behind what happened in that situation. I mean, if I was in that situation as well, I would probably protect my kids with my own life. But yeah, this is a truly, truly incredible documentary that I think everybody should tune in for. It's really, really well done. I absolutely love it. So check out The Perfect Neighbor, streaming now on Netflix, as well as some other really good documentaries that they have done over the years. I really like the John Wayne Gacy one that they did. The Poop Cruise has been one that caught my eye and I was very baffled by. If you're not familiar with the Poop Cruise story, definitely check that documentary out. It's pretty wild. Netflix did a really good job on that one as well. So definitely check out The Perfect Neighbor. Like I said, streaming on Netflix right now. That is the only reaction I have for today. Let's head over to our featured film, Sinister.
Grisly murders of a local family found earlier this week.
I didn't want to move here.
We couldn't afford to live in the old house anymore. Plus, the new story I'm writing is here.
I'm gonna write the best book that anybody's ever read. That's the family who lived here.
A ghoul. He consumes the souls of human children.
Get the kids, pack the car. We have to leave here now.
The only link between all these cases is this symbol.
Early Christians believed that Bagul actually lived in the images themselves. Children exposed to the images were especially vulnerable to Bagul's abduction.
Sinister was released on October 12th, 2012. It was a really groundbreaking horror film brought to you by Blumhouse. It had a budget of about $3 million dollars, and it made a whopping $82 million dollars worldwide, making a massive, massive success for the studio. It spawned a sequel that didn't really go much. With the quality that is the first film, you would think that, oh, this franchise must have, 3, 4, 5 sequels out of it. Nope, it only has the one. Unfortunately, that film did not do very well in theaters. It had a very negative reaction from the fan base of the original film, myself included. It was a definite miss from what really made Sinister special, and that is why this franchise really hasn't been revisited. I don't even think that they've ever talked about doing a Sinister 3 or even it back. Let me double check this to see what the next update is from Blumhouse themselves. I can't imagine that it's been so long that they're going to even try to do this. Sinister developed. Is there Sinister 3 coming out? Sinister 3 is not happening. This was as of last year. Jason Blum says that Sinister 3 is not happening, but a TV series could be in the works. They really love their TV shows now, especially with these horror films. I am excited for, kind of off topic, but I am very excited for the Welcome to Derry series hitting Max. And actually, I think that one comes out this Sunday, actually. And the Friday the 13th series, Crystal Lake, being brought by Peacock, and I believe Nightmare on Elm Street is in the works of having a series too. So a lot of these great horror franchises are getting series, unfortunately. I would be all for a Sinister film, but it has to be done right. The first film, for example, is incredible. It stars Ethan Hawke, as I said, as Ellison Oswalt. He is a book best-selling, I think it's New York Times, let me get this correct, New York Times best-selling author with his book Kentucky Blood, which investigates a horrific murder in the state of Kentucky at the time. He is now on the hunt for his next bestseller, and he think he has found it in this new house that he has bought secretly behind his wife. As far as she knows, that this is a town that had a murder happen. What she does not know, and what she eventually finds out, is that the family actually died in the background of this house, the backyard of this house, excuse me, and that is why Ellison is really intrigued by this house, so he ends up purchasing it and setting up shop in one of the offices for his new book. He stumbles across this box of old footage tapes up in the attic and starts watching them one by one, which is a really interesting way to give the audience the slow reveal of what, I'm going to use the title of the movie, and it's awesome, what sinister being is living in that house. And that being is none other than Mr. Boogie, as the kids call him, or what experts like Vincent D'Onofrio's character calls him as Bagul. This demonic, sinister being that in the lore eats children. He uses paintings or any sort of art as a doorway from his world into our world, and he kidnaps these kids and brings them into his world. That is where Ethan Hawke's family comes in. He ends up stealing their daughter Ashley towards the end of the movie, and that's where that big reveal goes, is where it's actually the kids killing their family in order to be brought into Bagul's reality or netherworld, as I think Vincent D'Onofrio's character states in the movie. So it's a really, really awesome twist to what you would think a movie like this would be, where, oh, it's a haunted house or a paranormal like movie where the sinister being is killing these families. It's actually him controlling one child that he deems special from that family and using them as a conduit to kill these members of the family. It's really, 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 really cool. The director, Scott Derrickson, who is no stranger to the podcast, he directed Doctor Strange and also the current Ethan Hawke horror franchise, The Black Phone. Black Phone 2 is out now in theaters. I was not a fan of the first Black Phone movie, But after watching Ethan Hawke in Sinister and seeing the advertisements for Black Phone 2, I think I'm going to rewatch The Black Phone this weekend. I believe it's streaming on Peacock if you are curious. It's either Peacock or HBO or one of those streaming services. So that is the current Scott Derrickson's films that he's working on. But like I said, he's been no stranger to the MCU with Doctor Strange, both 1 and 2. And he's done some other things like Into the Dark, Shadow Prowler, Sinister 2. He was a producer on. I wonder if he actually directed it. Nope, he did not direct it, but he was a producer on it, which is probably why it didn't do so hot. But yeah, Scott Derrickson did a really fantastic job with this movie. It was really the cinematography is fantastic. The music really sells it for me. The music is so haunting and so demonic that it just freaks you the hell out. And they're so timed really, really well to the specific scenes, like the videotapes. And we'll dive into the videotapes when we go through the iconic scenes. I'm doing something a little bit different today in celebration of this awesome movie. Instead of iconic scenes, I've named it iconic tapes, and we're going to go through each one of these tapes and kind of dissect it a little bit and give my thoughts onto it. But kind of wrapping up the cast here, we've got Tracy, who is the wife of Ethan Hawke's character. She's played by Juliet Rylance. She's fantastic in here. Like I said, she has no idea what the truth is behind this house. As far as she knows, they moved to this house temporarily so that he could write this book on some kind of murder that happened in this town. Turns out the murder happened right in their backyard. The family got hung by the tree in their backyard that their daughter plays on, and it just kind of spirals out of control to eventually they move back to their home, which is also unfortunate, as well as they are killed in that home because of a series of events, and we'll cover that too in the iconic film tapes as well. That's a really awesome twist or subplot that Scott Derrickson put in here. Their children, Trevor, played by Michael Hall, Daddario, and Ashley, played by Claire Foley. Ashley, like I said before, is the one that Bagul is drawing attention to, and she slowly becomes under his spell or demonic presence or whatever you want to call it. She is the chosen one, so to speak, to join the rest of the children in Bagul's netherworld. So, and then Trevor suffers from, a lot of sleep terrors, and he's kind of an oddball kid. We get that really cool scene where he's crawling out of the box and he's screaming, and it's so freaky on how he did that. But he did a really good job, Michael Hall, Daddario. We'll talk about him again in another segment of today's show. A couple of side characters. We have Deputy So-and-so, who actually doesn't have a name in this franchise. They call him Deputy in the first movie. Ethan Hawke's character nicknames him Deputy So-and-so, so that's what pops up on his phone. And then in the second Sinister film, they just call him Deputy So-and-so. They don't actually give him a name in there. He's played by James Ranson, who I have seen before. Let me pull up his IMDb here. Yep, he was Eddie in It Chapter 2. He was the adult version of Eddie. He was really good as Eddie, and he was really good as Deputy So-and-so in here. What else was he in? Generation Kill. Oh, he is in Black Phone 2. That's very exciting. And he was in Black Phone. That's right, he was. It Chapter 2. Looks like that's about it for his filmography there. But so he's got a couple of big hitters. I'm excited to see him in Black Phone. For some reason I'm drawing a blank on that. Maybe he was one of the dads or something in there. But Deputy So-and-so is a really interesting character. You get a lot of him in the second movie. He is kind of the lead in there since the unfortunate death of Ethan Hawke. The sheriff, who they just call Sheriff in here, played by Fred Thompson. He's kind of the skeptic of Ellison Oswald because he has seen what he did with Kentucky Blood and how he kind of, in his mind, bashed the police department that he ends up working with when he does write his books. But all that Ellison really did was just uncover new facts or evidence that the police department just missed, because we're all human. He wasn't really trying to discourage or deface the police department of the area. He's just trying to help the victims and the families that maybe needed some little help on the Justice Department. That was it. A couple other characters. We have Professor Jonas making a surprise cameo is Vincent D'Onofrio, who is one of my favorite actors ever. Very underrated. He's in literally 2 scenes, but they're really good scenes. He's the so-called expert of like occult murders and stuff, and he fills in Ellison on the whole legend of Bagul and all that. And speaking of the Bagul, we cannot move on without mentioning the man who portrays Bagul, and that is Nicholas King, who does a fantastic job of just kind of lingering around. He just walks around, he tilts his head, and does a couple of scares. Pulling up his filmography here, he was in Midnight Special. He was in the 2015 debacle that was Fantastic Four. He was in The Last Stand with Schwarzenegger. Looks like he did a stunts on there. He was uncredited. Looked like he did stunts on Paranormal Activity 3. He's a stunt guy, so that makes a whole lot of sense why he's just kind of lumbering around. But he did a really good job at being a really creepy Bagul in this story. So that rounds up the cast. Pretty contained cast. It's a very small movie, which I like. With the $3 million budget, it all pretty much happens in this house. The videotapes were created off of an actual old video camera. I have that in the facts as well on how they were able to make that kind of relevant to their section on the timeline. But really, really fantastic job with the casting in this film. I really, really like it. Ethan Hawke is the king of horror. He, of course, did another franchise, The Purge, in the first Purge movie. So he is no stranger to the horror. And then, of course, he does the Black Phone series now as well. A couple of other notes before we dive into the categories today. Like I said, with the opening of the episode, it has been voted the scariest horror film ever by a lot of surveys and film critics and film reports going out in the month of October. It has been voted as the scariest movie of all time, which totally agree. When we dive into those tapes, that lawnmower scene, man, is still gets me. Rewatching the movie for this podcast today, I still jumped off of my couch. That lawnmower scene just gets you every time, and it's so good because it drags on for the perfect amount of time where you're like, okay, we're just staring at a lawnmower, and boom, the body just shows up. It's really good. And with the sound effects that they do and the music that they choose when each murder happens is really, really cool. I love the music. I love the cinematography in here. It's so well done. The way it looks, the way it kind of pans over and the different tricks that they did to make it look like old footage when it comes to the videotapes. It's really, really well done. So we're gonna get to the categories now. We're gonna dissect these tapes. So the first tape that Ethan Hawke pulls up is the murder that happens in the house that he bought, the newest murder, which is titled Family Hanging Out. And then they put the year at the end, 2011, on the reel of tape. It's a very horrific scene where you see, I believe was it the mom, the dad, and the 2 siblings. So it had been 4 people with a noose around their neck on the tree, and you see this kind of saw-looking gardening tool that's cutting the branch, the one branch that's kind of holding them up, and that one snaps up and it slings them up into the air, and they all get hung up by the tree in the backyard. It's very, very horrific. Eventually, as Ethan Hawke discovers more and more about this specific footage, he starts zooming in the background, and then you see Bagul. You see Bagul in every single tape, but he's hidden, and it's really well done how they show you the tape originally, and you're like not even thinking about, oh, where's this sinister being at? It's not until we get further into the movie and we kind of investigate with Ethan Hawke, and we're like, oh, he was there the whole time. He's watching this happen. And it's cool as they point little things out as we go along. They did a really, really good job at presenting these tapes and kind of making the audience feel like they're going into detective mode with Ethan Hawke's character. Really great storytelling for sure. And an audience immersion. It's really, really awesome. Then the next tape that he puts on is titled Barbecue 1979. This is where the family is thrown into a car and set up on fire basically in their own garage. it's a very horrific scene. The car is chained up. The family is obviously drugged in order for this to happen. They're duct taped in the back seat and the front seat, and fire and gasoline are poured on top of them. And we're just sitting there watching this family burn alive in their own car in their own garage. It was very, very horrific. Then the next tape that we get thrown at us is Pool Party 1966. This is a very, very disturbing tape to watch. We see the family, they're having a pool party, they're barbecuing outside. It's really nice. And then we get that creepy, haunting music as it becomes nighttime. We have the spotlight on the camera shining. And that was a really cool aspect, too, as we get to some of these other tapes, like the hanging of the tree didn't really have this spotlight. It wasn't until the pool party where we introduced this like spotlight feature on the video camera. And it makes it really more horrific and disturbing with just the spotlight. So you're kind of following the spotlight. You don't know what's around it. You're just kind of focused on that point, and that's what really helps with the sell the jump scares in this movie. I think that's why it's so terrifying, is because they nail the jump scares in this movie, and they time them out so perfectly, and they use techniques like that spotlight to kind of draw your attention to a specific point, and then bam, something else happens, and it just freaks you out because you weren't expecting it. Just like when we get those scenes where we're fixated on a point, and then out of nowhere Bagul kind of bends his head down, and it's just like, holy shit, there's Bagul. It's really, really cool how they do it. So the pool party really introduces that spotlight feature, and then they use it in a couple of the other tapes moving forward, and it really, really helps. So the pool party, you get this really haunting feeling in your spine as we're going through this pool, and you're like, where's the family? What's going on here? And we get this shot of the lawn chairs, and the family is duct taped to these lawn chairs, and then you start to notice that there's concrete blocks underneath them, and you're like, okay, this is weird. There's rope tied, and they just start pulling them one by one as they fall into this pool, and with the concrete weight, they're basically drowning in their own pool. It's really, really horrific. There's kids and there's adults. That's what's really disturbing about this film. They cut away, of course, because they're not going to put. It's not like Terrifier where they're going to have you watch a kid die, but they do a really good job at insinuating like there's kids dying going through these horrific deaths in front of you. It's really I can't even fathom the psychological terror that was happening in Ellison Oswald's mind as he was watching these. And you can kind of tell with each tape as he goes on. And his wife Tracy even mentions is like, you don't start grabbing the bottle of bourbon this soon. Like, what is going on? This is really, really bad, Ellison. And you can see as each tape goes on, he starts, taking a couple sips of the bourbon. Then he ends up having a couple glasses in between the tape. And then eventually gets to the point where he's drinking straight out of the bottle because these tapes are just horrific. So that is the pool party scene. Very, very disturbing, drowning. And a very creative way to drown, too. Like, I'm not condoning this, of course. But it was they have very creative kill methods in this movie. It's really insane how they were able to come up with these ideas. Then we have the next one, which is titled Sleepy Time 1998. This is where we use that spotlight feature that I mentioned in the pool party. We're going through this house. I believe this is the one that was in Missouri. We're kind of doing a tracking shot with the camera, going room by room, and seeing the family members duct taped to their own beds, and their throats are slit with a kitchen knife, one by one. It's very, very disturbing, and the music really. I'm gonna do such a bad job at trying to emulate the music from this movie. But if you've seen the movie, you can just hear the music that I'm talking about right now. It's so disturbing, and it really, really makes this much more creepier than it is. And I mean, it's a pretty messed up thing to do anyways, but the music just really drives home the fact that this is really messed up crap that we are watching here. And then the next one, the final one that Ethan Hawke watches before, and I'll talk about the very, very last one that he ends up becoming a part of. But that last one that's in the box is titled Lawn Work 86. And this is why, I gotta imagine, it's definitely why I pick it as the scariest movie ever. this lawnmower scene is freaking dramatizing forever. Like, I can watch this movie 100 times and I'm going to jump off my couch 100 times watching the scene. So we have this spotlight. Once again, they really like to utilize that spotlight in these later videotapes, which is really a smart idea. We're kind of watching this figure go around outside. It's raining. They're in the garage. They're like, okay, there's a lawnmower. You know, probably something crazy is going to happen with this lawnmower. And then we get the tracking shot where it's the spotlight is on the lawnmower, and we're going down, and we're watching the lawnmower. We're watching the lawnmower. Time goes by. I was like, okay, what the hell's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then bam, a body just shows up, a head to be specific, and it's basically insinuating that the person that's killing this family drugged them up, duct taped them to the front lawn, and ran the lawnmower over their faces. Like, it's just, this is crazy shit that they put in this movie. And the fact that they came up with this lawnmower scene really makes me worried about their psyche. But I mean, that's creativity. Like, you got to really think outside the box for a horror movie. And that's what this movie does really well, is think outside the box. We have never had back in 2012. I mean, we had like Blair Witch Project and stuff like that, but this is something totally new and something totally different. And it was just amazing how they were able to pull this off. And it's because of that damn lawnmower scene that makes this the scariest movie on earth. And I want to put a warning out there. Kids should not watch this movie. Specifically for that lawnmower scene. This will dramatize kids. Like, my sister, she turned 14 now. She has really gone into horror movies. She loves the Paranormal Activity franchise now. But this is a movie that I'm going to make sure that she waits a long time for, because this will terrify kids. It's terrifying adults like myself who have seen it like 20 times, and it still gives me the creeps. So just a fair warning out there, if any kids are watching the show, like, do not watch this movie. And now that I said that, you're probably going to go home and watch it. But I'm just putting a disclaimer out there that please do not let your kids watch this movie. They will be heavily dramatized from it. And then that final tape, like I mentioned, the Oswalt family ends up being a part of it. This is called Painting 2012, because their daughter Ashley is a very creative and avid painter around their house. You know, we get the murals in her room, and then eventually that creepy mural in the hallway that she gets yelled at. But then this is the way that she becomes part of Bagul's clan in his netherworld, is she drugs up the family, brings them into the den area that is Ethan Hawke's personal office that he writes his books in. There's plastic all over the ground, insinuating that there's going to be some blood happening. And they're duct taped. Trevor and Tracy are next to each other. And then Ethan Hawke is kind of on his own. He is the first one to become victim to Ashley. She comes in with this axe. She's videotaping just like they do in the other ones. And then she comes in and chops them up into pieces, as you can see her draw in that little box. And I forgot to mention that in the box that Ethan Hawke finds the videotapes in on the cover, it was a really neat idea. The kids draw how they murdered their family and kind of just have a visual there in the box to kind of add onto it. And she adds onto that with her killing of her family on that final tape. And then when we get to Sinister 2, we get introduced more different tapes, and they kind of go the same route where they have these two brothers that are kind of being groomed to join Bagul's clan, but they just didn't do as good of a job. They got okay kind of creative with the Sinister 2 tapes, but nothing near what the first movie did. It's just really tough to beat a movie like this when you set that bar so high. It's really hard to make a franchise out of something like this. You really have to keep thinking outside the box or pushing that envelope every sequel of the franchise. So they're already at an uphill battle when they announced Sinister 2, and it was pretty obvious that they were going to make a sequel because this movie was so popular and made so much money for them, and people were like, we need more of this. Well, turns out we didn't need more of it. We just needed this one, because this one is just on repeat for me every single year for Halloween. And it gets even better as you watch it. And then as more people watch it, you start talking about it, and you start experiencing it with each other. This is a really good movie to watch with a group. I remember putting this on for my brother back when it came out, and I've never heard him scream that high before. He was terrified by that lawnmower scene. Like, he was completely dramatized. I think we were both I think he had to have been like 16, and I think I was about 18 or 19 when I showed him it. But yeah, even this movie is frightening. So please, again, disclaimer from Cinematic Reviews: do not let your children watch this movie. So that is kind of a new take on iconic scenes that I normally do on the show. This is the home movies or home tapes, if you want to call it, segment. So favorite quotes. There actually wasn't. I had a hard time with favorite quotes in here. This movie is so iconic because of the scenes put on and the music and the horrificness of it. You don't really remember a whole lot of quotes from it, but I did pull a bunch. Most of these are from Ashley, just because they're so haunting, coming from a little girl, and they all pretty much happen at the end of the movie. The first one is, "I like that you made the movies longer. They're better this way," insinuating that later on in the movie, when Ethan Hawke watches all of them, the big reveal is that the extended cuts of the tapes show up back into his old house when he moves back in, and so he has to go and use his little editing film device to add on the extended cuts to those reels, and then we get that big reveal that it was actually the kids who murdered the families. Another one from Ashley: "Don't worry, Daddy, I'll make you famous again," as she is about to kill him. You know, he will be famous. The family will be as murder victims in this string of murders. So that was pretty creepy coming from your own daughter. And then this first one, it's interesting to hear this line after watching the movie. So, like, when you first watch the movie, you're like, okay, kind of a throwaway line. But when you get to the end of the movie, this line really makes sense, and I like it. "Maybe one day I'll paint something really good. Then I'll be famous like you." And that's really creepy after watching this movie a couple times, because you get what it kind of foreshadows, where you get that shot at the very end of the movie where she does this tracking shot with the video camera of the paintings on the wall, but it's her family's blood as the paint. It's really creepy. And then she does end up becoming famous because she becomes one of the missing children, like the other ones that she joins. Two more quotes, one from Deputy So-and-so. "Are you kidding? I believe in all that stuff. I wouldn't sleep one night in this house. Are you nuts?" This is his answer to Ellison Oswald asking Deputy So-and-so if he believes in the supernatural and paranormal and all that stuff. So, and Deputy So-and-so was like, "Yeah, I believe in all that crap. You can pay me enough money to live in this house. Are you kidding me? People died in your backyard." So I thought that was he's kind of like the comedic relief of the movie. And I appreciate that they didn't like overdo it. They put it in spots where, you know, we're getting terrified. Okay, let's have a little breather. Let's have everybody laugh, and then we'll just scare the shit out of them once more with some more scenes. It was really well done. And then this one from Ethan Hawke. It's the missing kids as the big reveal happens, and he's watching these extended cuts. I just like Ethan Hawke's reaction to him finally getting the final piece of the puzzle, where what happened to the kids? Well, the kids murdered the families, and they are off with Bagul. That's where they went. So that is favorite quotes for Sinister. Again, it was pretty tough. You're not really remembering a lot of the quotes from this movie. It's all about these jump scares and the visuals in this movie for sure. I did find some interesting fun facts about Sinister. A couple of them that I did know of and some that I didn't. So I wanted to include a little bit of each. The family that was hung on a tree were all played by stuntmen. However, when the scene was first done, the stunt coordinator botched the preparations for the scene, resulting in one of the actors coming loose from his harness, which went around his neck. So the guy actually almost got hung on the stunt. That is freaky. Fortunately, he was not physically harmed, and the stunt coordinator was fired soon after that. No surprise there. That is a lawsuit ready to happen, but thank God that stuntman did not end up dying on set. That would have been wild. Probably would have shut the movie down for sure. The Pool Party 1966 snuff film in Sinister was extremely difficult to film, according to Robert Gargill. I believe he is the cinematographer. Let me double check that one for sure. I think he was. No, he was not. Who was he? Must have been a producer. No, Scott Scare. Must have been the stunt guy, I would guess. Huh. He is not listed on. Oh, there he is. He was one of the writers, of course. Anyways, I digress. Sorry about that. Rabbit hole. The actors who played the Doom family were tied down to lawn chairs and pulled underwater in reality. Oh my God. And the filmmakers had to be extremely careful that nobody was harmed while filming that scene took place. Well, obviously, again, lawsuit ready to happen. Further complications occurred while filming the killer underwater, Bagul. Nicholas King, who portrays him, had to wear weights and stay underwater for several seconds while he was filmed. That is so risky, and I can't imagine the meeting when you go to your lawyers and say, hey, we want to put the actors underwater. That has got to take some real skill in persuading the studio to allow you to drown your cast and your crew. That is wild. Since the scene was filmed entirely on Super 8 film, care had to be taken to ensure that the camera was properly rolling and that the cartridge and the light meter were working. Otherwise, the scene would have to be reshot numerous times. Oh my God! I wonder how many times did that scene? How many takes? I want to Google this. Now this is really great podcasting, but I want to know how many takes this took. How many takes did it take to film pool scene in Sinister? I want to see how many times they did this. I wonder if they'll even tell me. Nope, it looks like I'm not gonna be able to find out. But I hope it wasn't that many times, because that is crazy to actually drown your cast and crew to film a movie. I hope they got it in one shot, because that has got to be traumatizing for that cast. Ethan Hawke had never seen the Super 8 snuff films prior to date of recording Sinister. I actually knew that, but I wanted to bring that up because it's a really important fact. When the scene where his character watches the snuff films was ready to be recorded, the soundtrack was matched up with the films, and Ethan Hawke played out of his role. So they had the music playing around him as they were filming it, so he could feel the music that was going to be matched to that scene. His reactions to the films were recorded for Sinister and used in the final film. So he watched them for the first time with the music, like us as an audience. That is really cool. I knew that was that is how they filmed it, but I wanted to share that because that is a really, really important thing to do, is to get that authenticity from the actor themselves and put them in that situation. Like, he is basically one of us watching these movies for the first time. It was really a great choice and really, really well done by Ethan Hawke to give us his true reaction to these snuff films. In 2020, Forbes magazine conducted a study, Science of Scare Project, where the heart rate of the viewers were monitored while they watched a number of horror films. Out of 35 films, this movie won. This is one of the reports I was talking about, how this was voted the scariest movie ever. Having the highest average heart rate at 86, spiking at 131 beats per minute. Thus, it often being deemed the scariest movie ever made. And it is the scariest movie ever made. If you're going to have a heart rate that high, Jesus, that is a lot. And then the last fun fact I have for you today, the scenes showing the Super 8 home videos were filmed on a real Super 8 film camera to capture the grainy, nostalgic effects of old movies, according to Gargill, one of the writers. So, and I knew that one as well, that they used actual Super 8 film cameras to film those snuff films, which is very important to do. Made them really, really authentic for sure. So yeah, that is Sinister. I absolutely love this film. I can't believe that we finally got to do it on the podcast today. It is a part of Fright Nights. It is going to be etched into the Mount Rushmore of best horror films ever made. It is a truly terrifying but exciting experience to go through. Like I said, I watch it every year on Halloween. I even watch it outside of the Halloween season because it's such a really good horror film. And it's one of my favorite horror films of all time. And I kind of wish that they would have did the sequel right, because we could have gotten a whole franchise out of this. But I'm more than happy to just have this one little gold nugget in the horror film genre. It's truly amazing on how they were able to pull this movie off and be crowned scariest movie ever put on film. It's truly outstanding work by Scott Derrickson, by Ethan Hawke and the rest of the cast, by the stunt crew, by the writers coming up with this idea. It's truly awesome, and I really am glad that this movie exists. It's such a really awesome experience to go through, even though it scares the living crap out of me when we get to that damn lawnmower scene. So that is Sinister. We're gonna wrap up the show like we always do with some rankings. First up on today's ranking segment, we're bringing back Blockbuster Showdown. We're pitting Sinister against its sequel, Sinister 2. I've already kind of hinted at where I'm going to go with this showdown, and that is with Sinister. Sinister is unbeaten by its own sequel and by probably 99% of the rest of the horror genre. This is truly on a tier all on its own. It is the master of horror and jump scares, and it does everything that it needs to do to become an incredible film. So in the Blockbuster Showdown for the day, Sinister versus Sinister 2, Sinister wins the Blockbuster Showdown on today's episode. Next to the newest segment of the podcast, Best in Show. Our nominees for Best in Show for the film Sinister are Ethan Hawke as Ellison Oswalt, Nicholas King as the Bagul / Mr. Boogie. And then I'm going to throw in Michael Hall Daddario as Trevor Oswald for his incredible springing out of the box stunt, which scares the crap out of me every time. So those are our nominees for Best in Show. Our winner for Best in Show in the film Sinister is Ethan Hawke as Ellison Oswalt. He does a fantastic job of getting us really authentic reactions to the snuff films that are in this movie. He really sells the fact that he is in it over his head. He's very passionate about figuring out what happened in this murder. I just really love Ethan Hawke's performance in here. He is the best performer in Sinister by far, so he wins Best in Show for today's episode. And then to wrap things up, we've got the incredible popcorn scale. I am giving, if you haven't already figured it out, Sinister the golden popcorn bucket. There's no other tier that this fits in. This is a clear example of what a golden popcorn movie is. It's got the really creepy, incredible, well thought out music. The story writing and the idea behind this movie is just groundbreaking and incredible. It uses found footage in a new creative way. You know, like I said before, we've had Blair Witch Project before this, but this is a new, really creative way to use home movies as a centerpiece for a horror film. The Bagul sinister being in here is creepy as hell, and I love the fact that he doesn't talk or really do anything but stand there or tilt his head like this. It's Nicholas King did a really good job at being really creepy as Bagul, and the rest of the cast did a fantastic job as well. They kept it contained. They focused on quality, and it really shows off. So golden popcorn material for sure. So that'll do it for today's Fright Night episode. Join me next week on Halloween for the finale of Fright Nights in 2025 with Scream, the original Scream from 1996. I will be recording that episode ahead of time so that it will drop on Halloween, and we can share in the gloriness that is Scream together in your home on Cinematic Reviews. Also, check out my football podcast every week, the End Zone Report. We just threw out an episode yesterday in reaction to Week 7 and preparing for Week 8. That'll be another episode dropping next week as we come out of Week 8. So if you are an NFL fan, go ahead and check out my podcast, the End Zone Report, and then check out all the artwork that I'll be releasing for that episode, as well as the Sinister episode. So with that, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy whatever spooky film or TV show that you have fired up this weekend, and we will see you all next time. We're going to be throwing out the Tron Ares review finally in the next couple of days, and then we'll get, like I said, to the finale of Fright Nights with Scream. Later, everyone.